I think one thing that's really at the core of what we believe at SURJ um, is an orientation to white anti-racism that is grounded in mutual interest and helping more white or shared stake, more white people get really clear about what our stake is in fighting and ending white supremacy, and to focus as much on that as we do on our privilege. Yeah. It's grounded in a belief that white folks, yes, there are privileges awarded to us, though they are meted out differently. I want to, even within whiteness, and that's a whole other webinar, but there are also real costs, not the same that there are to communities of color, but there are also costs to white people in both material and spiritual ways, I would say. And that we do this work not from a place of helping communities of color, but really because we deeply believe that our own liberation requires it. That this is not, we're not doing this to help anybody else. This is about our own liberation. We've tried to get really crisp over the years about the ways in which white supremacy harms white communities in very material ways, right? So we know that there's, we can't have nice things because of white supremacy and racism for any of us. We see the ways in which whiteness rearranges our alliances for those of us who are poor and working class to whiteness, to white people at the top, to rich white people, as opposed to aligning with working class communities of color and, POC-led and Black-led movements who are fighting for a world that would benefit all of us in very material ways. We'd have healthcare, we would have strong public schools, we would have so many nice things if we could actually build a deep and enduring solidarity across lines of difference. So it harms us in really material ways. And then there's also deep spiritual costs to those of us who are white, right? Like we have to give up a lot to be white, right? Like I think of my own family, we had to give up our name. We had to give up our foods. We had to give up, our resiliency practices. There was a lot that we had to give up that harm us in not material ways, but really harm us in other ways that are much more about, our spirits. And so at SURJ, we really think that this is how we create a culture that people will stay in when shit gets hard and fighting white supremacy is hard, because we really understand what's in it for us. And we really believe that our own liberation is tied to the leadership and the success of organizing led by communities of color. So I think that's like at the core of what we're trying to do at SURJ.